Bitcoin is down. Riot reported its earnings today. Let's take a look at both of those things. First, let's going to take a look at Bitcoin, how far it's come down, and compare that to what happened when the US ETFs came out and see if we're on par with that or not, if we're on track in the same kind of way. So currently, we are down again today, 5.51%. We are hovering just about $57,000, just above that at 57,273 right now. Currently, our move down on Bitcoin since the Hong Kong ETF went live has been, when we're going to go all the way to the bottom of today's wick, it was 11.43%. Okay, remember that number, 11.43%. That's how far we've come down in 2 days of the Hong Kong ETF opening. All right, let's go back and look at the US one. That happened here. This was January 11th. Let's go from the opening of that candle on that day. Basically, this is where we came, this is where we opened up, and where it wicked down to at its deepest wick, and that was about 11.1%. So we're slightly moving down slightly more than the last time we had a big ETF opening. Let's see what the ultimate bottom was for that. Okay, so we go from the candle open all the way to the bottom about 2 weeks later, and that was 17.49%. Let's see how far down we would go if we went down 17.49% from yesterday's open. 17.49% would take us right about here, 52,720, right there. So we could expect to come down to this support zone around the high $52,000 range here in the next couple of weeks before what happened after that, before we absolutely took off. From that point on, January 23rd, honestly, just January 23rd to February 14th. Let's look at that. That was just like a 3-week period, and that was a 37% up move. Let's see what the total move was from January 23rd until March 13th. Let's see how high that went. That's, a little over 6 weeks. 6 weeks later, we were up 100%. So if we did the same exact thing that we did last time a big ETF came in, we moved the exact same amount pretty much in the first 2 days of trading. And if we continue to follow that trend and go down to that full minus 17.5%, down to that 52,000, about 700 or so, if we come up, was it 91% from that, we would be sitting at $100,000 here by the end of summer. Let that sink in for a minute. We would be trading a Bitcoin worth $100,000 by the end of summer if Bitcoin follows the same path it did last time a major ETF was released for Bitcoin. Currently, we're following it to a T at the moment. I wouldn't worry about this too much. Of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. Just looking at what happened the last time we had a big ETF drop, the amount of selling pressure that came in right after that sell the news event, and it looks very similar, like we're getting that as well. The other thing that you want to pay attention to here is that there's a head and shoulders printing on this chart right now. You can see the left shoulder back here in early March, late March we got the head, and now we've just formed the shoulder. We have crossed beneath the neckline on that head and shoulders, meaning that at this point in time, we could come as low as 52,000, the high 52,000s or even the low 52,000s in order to complete this head and shoulders that we're seeing on this chart right now. And that would play perfectly into that pattern as well as into the historical action of the price after an ETF drops. And then once that is done, all of that negativity is flushed out around that point. And from there, we would have the liquidity built in order to make that run for that $100,000 move on Bitcoin. This is really not the time to be scared or concerned necessarily. If you are scared, if you are losing sleep at night due to moves like this in Bitcoin, I would say, and of course this is not financial advice in any way, I would say that it is time to consider your risk tolerances as well as your position sizes, because if you're losing sleep over this, or you invested more than you could handle or afford, then that would make you over leveraged and that would make this overly stressful. I can tell you right now, I'm not stressed at all by this. I'm actually kind of excited to see this. It means I'm going to be getting the assets that I want for a cheaper price And I have been doing that the entire time coming down. I've been buying a little bit every single day, just DCAing into these positions that I want to have that are Bitcoin related and others. I've been doing that with others as well. But anyways, that's Bitcoin. It's right on track for that ETF sell the news sort of event, and we would come right down into the supply zone in the high 52,000s if this thing completes the entire move over the next 2 weeks. So look for weakness for the first 2 weeks of May. We're watching for that. And then around the back end of May, we're looking for this thing to start turning around in a big, big way. Now, if that doesn't happen, then I'd start wondering, maybe my thesis isn't as solid as I once thought. But until that time, I won't know. So I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to be following it. I will be expecting it to get to about that high $52,000 level, and then I will be expecting it soon after in the next, month and a half, 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. I would expect it to make a pretty significant rally. Now let's take a look at Riot. Riot actually returned earnings this morning, and it is down only 0.4%, while Bitcoin's down minus 5.25%. So earnings weren't that bad. You can see by the little green arrow here that they weren't. It actually had some beats. So earnings per share beat at 16 cents per share, which was a beat from the estimated minus 19.8 cents. So it was a beat by 182.15%. They missed revenue though by a little bit, so that's not great. So the revenue was down 17.52%, but their earnings per share were positive. So technically, they are profitable. They're coming out profitable. And that profitability is what's keeping Riot from being negative today when Bitcoin is significantly negative. Now let's take a look at their actual report from their website here. So we can come in here. They're actually reporting something a little bit different, I believe. They have their net income for the quarter was 211.8 million. That represented a 0.82 cents per share. Now that is going to be including their Bitcoin treasury in their reports there, which is why that's significantly higher than what's showing up on TradingView, which is going to be the old GAAP methods of accounting. This is going to be including the new methods of accounting that allows them to use the Bitcoin mined as part of the revenue, part of their net income. So that's why that's so much bigger there. Hash rate growth. They are going to be growing their hash rate by up to 31 exahash by the end of 2024. That is also big news, which is causing this thing to move up higher, which is significantly more than they currently have. I believe their current rate is like 12.6 or something like that. It's quite low, especially even compared to its peers. So that's something to keep in mind there, that this is going to be growing quite rapidly here, and it's going to happen pretty quick. They also go on to mention their ATM offerings and how much they've diluted the stock so far. So we can come into here and see that by March 31st, 2024, they had diluted 26,169,300 shares into the market. And then by the end of April 30th, 2024, where was it at? They diluted another 14,789,000 shares. So that's what's going on with Riot there. It was actually not a bad earnings report. It could be worse. The revenue came in a little bit light, but the earnings per share came in quite good, showing that they are profitable, and we can expect other miners to also be profitable going forward. Let's take a look at how the other miners are responding today. Let's take a look. Oh, I just got a notification that my cipher warrants got triggered. I've got a bunch of cipher warrants now, so that's pretty great. Look at that. That came in. Let's see. Mara's down 0.5%. Let's take a look at the cipher warrants. That should be like 96, 97 cents. It's at 96 cents right now. Ooh, perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. In fact, I might add a little bit more if it comes down a little bit more in the next couple of days. So I'll keep my eye on that. So my yeah, my order triggered. I'll be able to swing this bad boy one more time. That'll be pretty great. So I'm looking at, maybe I'll add some more around down here on like 89. I'll try to add a little bit more to it and then get an even bigger swing as it comes up in the next couple of months up to that like $1.50 range. That'd be pretty fantastic. See how CleanSpark is doing today. CleanSpark down almost 2% today. We're at $16, just hanging right there on that $16. I'm starting to think that we're very likely to come down to the $15 mark before May 8th when earnings is reported. And around May 8th, I think that's when we get a move up on CleanSpark, assuming these earnings are good. Now, I think we can probably assume that since Riot reported good earnings and CleanSpark is a much more efficient operation than Riot, so I'm not super concerned about their earnings report. Yeah, I don't see us going way lower. I'm thinking probably about 15, and then we'll start looking at our way up. Let's take a look at BitDigital real quick. Minus 2.7%. We're slightly below the megaphone here on today's trading. I honestly think we're probably going to vacillate around here a little bit until they report their earnings, which this keeps changing on TradingView. Nobody actually knows when this is yet. Bit Digital hasn't announced it yet. I don't know why news outlets are saying when their earnings report is coming out when they haven't even announced it yet. So unless they've announced it since yesterday and I'm not in the know, in which case, let me know so I know exactly when that is so I can cover that. Bit Farms. Let's take a look at Bit Farms. Bit Farms also down. No, yeah, down 1% today. We came into my little box here again to 173 on Bit Farms. We're likely to hang out in here for a little while. I'm not really seeing any changes in this until, again, earnings comes around. They announce a new CEO. Because, I mean, honestly, even the new exahash that they've got online here, bringing them up to 7 exahash really didn't do much to bring up the stock price, even though that was a decently significant increase for them. So I think that's what they're waiting for. Let's take a look at MicroStrategy real quick. This is the last thing we're going to look at today. MicroStrategy. How is that reacting today? Bitcoin is down 5.34%, but MicroStrategy is only down 2.46%. That is significantly less than yesterday's 17.63% down, which was off of those bad earnings. So I think we can say that that really horrific day yesterday was solely due to the bad earnings report, and that today, in fact, it's not even tracking Bitcoin. It's doing better than Bitcoin when usually it's a leveraged play to the up and downside of Bitcoin. Today, it's actually doing just a little more than half the negativity that Bitcoin is seeing coming through on the MicroStrategy chart today. So that's actually not so bad. That's actually kind of a good omen there that MicroStrategy is holding up a little better than expected today, considering how far Bitcoin is down. Now, if Bitcoin goes down to that $52,000 level, we can expect, this is where I pop your bubble a little bit, we can expect MicroStrategy to likely come down to this box here, which would represent down to $808 or $679. So support is down at $808, and that is if Bitcoin gets down to that $52,000 range, we would see MicroStrategy come down here. Whether or not that is a buy the dip scenario is up to you as an individual investor, because of course this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. That is simply where I'm seeing a supply zone, a demand zone, if you will. And once we get down there and we start curling around, Bitcoin comes up to $100,000. Once Bitcoin's trading at $100,000, I can easily see MicroStrategy trading in like the $2,500 to $2,700 range once that happens again. And that could likely happen as early as 90 days from now, given the previous Bitcoin performance after an ETF dropped and after the decline following that ETF becoming tradable. So that's all right now. It's a little bit doom and gloom, but for only a short period of time, I do think that sometime in the next 2 weeks we'll find a bottom. And then after that, the next 6 weeks should be pretty epic going forward. So stay calm, carry on. And with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.